Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. Today is Sunday, January 23rd in the year 2022, and I am broadcasting from lovely Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is late afternoon, and it's actually getting a little chilly here. So, this is the weather now. It's very hot earlier in the day, and then it gets cool at night, and you need a little shawl or something. But I shouldn't complain. I'm not complaining because you know what? Tomorrow is my birthday, and I was saying to someone today that I'm really glad that I don't live in a climate where it's bitter freezing cold on my birthday anymore. I don't do that anymore. Thank you, universe. Anyway. Yes, tomorrow the sun will be at 4 degrees Aquarius, or maybe it's about that now, but yes, this Aquarius is having a solar return. So, and the sun is with Mercury today. And very first thing this morning, Eastern Time, 5:28 a.m., Sun and Mercury conjoined. And that means they're in the same place at the same time. But you will recall that Mercury is retrograde and has been since the 14th of January. And one of the things that happens under Mercury retrograde is that Mercury and the Sun, their orbits catch up. And this is what happened this morning, that Mercury moves in a direction where it's backwards, but the sun is moving forwards, and then they line up together, which is what they're doing today. Now, that could be a very chatty experience, or it could be a very, internal thought experience. Maybe you spent today journaling or something. It could be, a very mercurial experience. There are funny people around you telling jokes. There are chatty people around you. There are intellectual people around you. There's been a few mercurial events for me in the last couple of days, but also today was the going away party for my friends who are going back to Spain. So we spent today in the garden, and that was very nice. And then we'll have, some other festivities right before they go next week. And it's hard to believe they're leaving next Saturday. So it's bittersweet. In the meantime, so Mercury and the Sun, yes, this happens every Mercury retrograde where they catch up to one another. And so, Mercury retrograde happens several times a year, and the Sun and Mercury catch up, because one of the things that causes Mercury retrograde, or the apparent motion of Mercury retrograde, is that when you are standing on the Earth, and the Earth and the Sun, the Sun is obviously close to the Earth. It's Sun and Mercury and Venus and us, and then Mars, and then so those are two internal planets that are both retrograde between us and the Sun. Mercury and Venus are both retrograde. And, and what happens is, it's like the Sun and Venus and Mercury are always very close together. They are not far apart. And when the Mercury reaches a certain point, or Venus reaches a certain distance from the Sun, and we can see that in the zodiac, they don't go very far away. Like, the Sun's in Aquarius right now, right? Because it happened the other day, the 19th, the Sun went into Aquarius. And so we're in Aquarius season, but Mercury got only so far in Aquarius, and then it turned around and came back. Now, that doesn't mean that Mercury was way, way, way ahead. Like, you're never going to have the Sun in Aquarius and Mercury in, Leo. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in Virgo either. So, they're going to remain within like a sign or so close to the Sun. And so that's something to remember. Anybody who has a birthday during Aquarius, Mercury is going to be in Aquarius or Capricorn, maybe Pisces, but like not really Sagittarius, okay? And it depends on where the Sun is. Like, if the Sun is very much at the end of Aquarius, well then, yeah, Mercury and Pisces, sure. But it does not stray far from the Sun. And so we are in the middle of the Mercury retrograde cycle, and it'll end on the 4th or the 3rd, really the 3rd, and very late at night, the 3rd. But this is where we're at. We're sort of like at this midpoint of Mercury retrograde. So moving right along. So Mercury is in Aquarius. The sun is in Aquarius, but this week Mercury is going to change signs on Tuesday in the evening, 10:05 p.m. Eastern time, and Mercury will enter Capricorn. And it will go back into Capricorn, and this is where we're retracing things. So this is important because we're going to start looking back at what we've been doing over the last few weeks. And in the time before Mercury went retrograde, it's always this review and revise and revisit and reconnect and reread and re-examine and reanalyze, especially, Mercury likes to analyze, especially right now with the next couple of days while it's still in Aquarius. It will come back to Aquarius, not quite yet, but, remember what I said last week. Mercury is going to join Pluto, pass over Pluto once, turn around, go direct, and then pass over Pluto again. Sort of the way Venus started its retrograde, passed over Pluto, passed it up, went retrograde, came back, passed over it again, backwards. Mercury's doing the opposite. So that's what's really important. Now, so the sun is no longer in Capricorn. Pluto is in Capricorn. As of Tuesday, Mercury will be in Capricorn. And as of tomorrow morning, 7:53 a.m. Eastern time, Mars will be in Capricorn. So there's Venus is in Capricorn, as you know, because it never left Capricorn, because it's been retrograde in Capricorn. And so as of Tuesday, we will have 4 planets. Tuesday night, we will have 4 planets in Capricorn again. Wow. But the sun will march forward, and it's important to know that all this energy is going back into, Mars is going forward. Mars is at the end of Sagittarius, and tomorrow morning we'll go into Capricorn. So it's leaving fire. And that's important because that is the only planet in fire right now. We don't have any planets in fire. We have Mars, and Mars is getting ready to leave. It's 29.5 degrees Sagittarius. So, and once we go into tomorrow, it will be in Capricorn. So by Tuesday night, there'll be 4 planets in Capricorn again. So we don't get a break from this Capricorn energy. This Capricorn energy keeps coming back. And therefore, there must be something that we need to review and revise in Capricorn. Both Mercury and Venus are in Capricorn, and they'll be retrograde. So what is Capricorn? Capricorn is serious. Capricorn is committed. Capricorn is authoritarian. Capricorn is patriarchal. Capricorn is like the authority in our lives, the boss, the government, and anything that's our parents. Parental, anything that is sort of the governing bodies. Capricorn is also the house of where we are, ambitious and want to be successful, and we feel we must work hard and have a lot of integrity. And so the important thing to remember in all of this is that when we go back into Capricorn, and then Mars will be there till March. It spends about 6 weeks there. It'll go in tomorrow, be there till the early part of March. This is something where, there's a lot of serious energy, and it's a very interesting time because it suddenly, like we were out of Capricorn season, and we are in Aquarius season. The sun is in Aquarius, and that's where our life force drive is. With the revolutionary, with the innovative, with the big ideas, with the analytical, with the thinking of the collective and other worlds. But in the science world, technology, that too. But all this Capricorn energy makes us sort of go back and think in very serious terms, in very committed terms, but also very much reviewing these last few months, the last few weeks, and it's been a while. The last month that Mercury's been there, and then we had the sun there for a while, the month, and we also have, we had Venus, and Venus has been in Capricorn since November. So this is a long journey. There's a lot of Capricorn. It isn't just one outer planet there. We're getting a lot of visiting. We have to sort of look at those areas of our life. Where do we want to be successful? Where do we feel very committed? Where do we want our integrity to reign supreme? Where do we want to be, you know, our own boss, maybe? These are things to consider. And where does Capricorn show up in your chart? So it's an interesting thing to look at that, because Capricorn is an ambitious sign, and maybe it's in a not so ambitious house, like the 12th house. Maybe you have Capricorn in your 12th house, and maybe you're Aquarius rising. If that's the case, you know, it's about, like, there's a certain amount of surrender going on, because 12th house is all about surrender and atonement and those kinds of things. So if you have a pile of planets in the 12th, well, first of all, it might not be easy for you to sleep, because that's the house of sleep and dreams, but it may be a place where you need to surrender and you need to learn how to surrender. And Capricorn is also the teacher, learning things, because it is ruled by Saturn. Remember that. And so it's always where we're going to learn something, and lessons that might be, you know, something that we have to work hard at. But, you know, it could be a place in your horoscope where it's not necessarily Capricornian, like the 10th house is Capricornian. So, but the energy of Capricorn is very, very present for us right now. And so we still have to go over that and look at that. Now, one of the most important things this week is that Venus is going to go direct in Capricorn on Saturday the 29th at 3:46 a.m. And this is important because it's been retrograde since the 19th of December, and we're finally in the home stretch of Venus retrograde. So this is so important because Venus, as I told you last week, is at 11 degrees, and this is where Venus will go direct, but Venus is already at 11 degrees, and she'll slow down, and she's going to stay at 11 degrees, and she's getting very, very slow right now. She got to 11 degrees yesterday, and she's going to be at 11 degrees and change all week. Saturday, she'll turn around at 11 degrees, I think 4 minutes, and then she's going to go and stay at 11 degrees for a while. So the sum total that Venus will be at 11 degrees of Capricorn is 16 days. If you have something at 11 degrees of Capricorn, Aries, Libra, or Cancer, you know, and I would say anywhere from 9 degrees to 13 degrees, that this Venus is going to affect that. Pay attention. Look at your life. Look at where Venus is affecting you. What is happening to you in the areas of relationships? What's happening to you in the area of finance? How is Venus showing you something about your astrological chart? Everybody has a section where there's Capricorn. Venus is going to go direct in that section of your chart. And maybe you have an ascendant at 11 Capricorn or Cancer or something. Look at your chart, and it's very important, because when a planet stations and turns around and goes direct, there's a message. There's a lesson, there's a message, there's possibly an answer to a question that you've had during this whole Venus retrograde. Maybe you'll go, oh, that's what that was about. Or, oh, this is so important because I heard from so-and-so, and I haven't heard from them in a long time. Venus and Mercury retrograde. Pay attention. Relationships, finances, friendships, social things, all that stuff. So one of the things you want to pay very close attention to in the coming days and weeks. And, you know, this is important also because Mars is going to catch up. Now, Venus is slow. So, you know, what planet is always slow when it turns direct from retrograde. And the thing that's really important about this is that Mars is going to be in Capricorn, and they're going to be very close together. By the time we get to next Saturday, when Venus goes direct, Mars will already be at 3, and the moon goes into Capricorn at about an hour or so after Venus, or actually not much longer after Venus turns around. Venus will turn around, actually the moon will go about 20 minutes later. It will turn into Capricorn. And then that means that there'll be another planet in Capricorn. There'll be 5 planets in Capricorn next Saturday. And the moon will reach Venus. So there's going to be some goddess-oriented energy for those of you who are tapped into that. And divine feminine energy, but also, again, we're dealing with security because it's the moon, but we're dealing with finances and relationships and people and things like that. And what's so interesting is that Mars is going to be at a speed where it actually catches up to Venus and they start traveling together. And we've been looking at this for months, and the moment is arriving where that's going to happen. And within a certain number of days after Venus goes direct, Mars and Venus will be conjunct. And this doesn't happen. Last summer, I think it was July, Venus and Mars were conjunct. They usually do this once every 2 years. Now here we are 6 months later, and they're going to be conjunct again, and they're going to be conjunct for about 2.5 months. All of February, all of March, and then, maybe not quite 2.5 months, maybe a little less than that. But they are so close together. They're going to be so close together. They're going to be talking to each other. They have a lot to say to one another. This, again, is about relationships. This is really about relationships. They'll go from Capricorn together. They'll go into Aquarius together. They'll stay close to each other. And this is a very, very important thing. It's a phenomenon we don't see very often at all. So pay close attention to your relationships, your dialogue. Be careful of what you say, too, because, this is something where the two of them have a lot to discuss with each other, and you want to get it right, So think about your relationships, the integrity of your relationships, how to raise the level of integrity in your relationships. And Mars likes Capricorn. It's exalted there. It's ambitious in Capricorn. So we might be a little ambitious in our dealings with people and stuff. It doesn't mean just relationships in the intimate sense. It could be any of your, if it's a work-oriented house where you have Capricorn, it could be your professional relationships. So this is very important. This is going to be very interesting. And a lot of things will be, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen for each and every one of us, but I think something very interesting is going to occur for everybody. And so that's one of the things that's happening. That's Venus is going direct, finally, and it's going to be a relief. We can really feel like we are relating again. And I always tell people to not get involved in brand new relationships in an intimate sense under a Venus retrograde, and that they should wait till Venus goes direct. And that's something that's going to finally happen. The day before, on Friday the 28th, we will have Mercury on Pluto. And remember what I said before. Mercury is going to go over Pluto. It's going to go direct on the 3rd of February, and then it's going to come back over Pluto again. So it's past Pluto a while ago, weeks ago, and then it's now going to go again, but it's going to be slower, and that's going to be 11:16 p.m. Friday night. So next weekend's big. We've got Mercury, Pluto. We've got Venus going direct. Then the moon will join Venus. This is a lot of information. And so that's going to be important. So now, if you are celebrating Chinese New Year, that's going to come up the following week on Tuesday the 1st Eastern time. It's 12:46 a.m. So it's going to be the middle of the night, but it will be the Lunar New Year. It will be the new moon. And how do they measure Chinese New Year? It is the first new moon after the sun enters Aquarius. So the sun entered Aquarius on the 19th, Wednesday, and we were in the middle. We had just had a full moon a couple days earlier. So now the new moon is happening on Tuesday the 1st at 12 degrees Aquarius, the Lunar New Year of the Tiger. And there's some tiger people here, and we like tigers. I'm not a tiger person, but we like tigers here. So there are no tigers in Costa Rica, but there are other smaller versions of wild cats. Any case, yes. So that's going to be happening soon too. The next new moon is the beginning of Chinese New Year, the new year, And one of the things that I didn't talk about last week, but that has happened in the last few days, is that the lunar nodes changed signs. And this is important because it only happens once every year and a half. And so for the last year and a half, we've been living with the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius. And we talked about that a bit, where the North Node in Gemini encourages us to find out our own opinion, find out our own information, do our own research, find out what our thoughts are, as opposed to listening to teacher guru that is very Sagittarian. And so one of the things that's interesting about this is that when they shift signs, our focus shifts. So the North Node now is in Taurus, the South Node is in Scorpio, and this will be for another year and a half. It shifts the eclipses as well, because then what happens is when we start to go into eclipse season, it's no longer in Gemini and Sag, it's in Taurus and Scorpio. So if the moon gets close to Scorpio when the sun is in Taurus, then we have a lunar eclipse. And then if we have the sun and the moon in Taurus, then we're having a solar eclipse, because the North Node is in Taurus. So Taurus, what is Taurus about? Taurus is about security. Taurus is about nature. Taurus is about the earth. Taurus is about all the forces of nature and the earth and the grounded feeling we have when we are secure. It is the most earthy of all the earth signs. And it's very security oriented, but like Tauruses love to have the roof over their head, the food on the table, money in the wallet, money in the bank, and they are dealing with, the very creature comforts we all like, all those comforting things that we love. They love comfort food. Taurus energy loves comfort food. So the things that bring us security, we have to go in more of the direction of security, whereas the South Node in Scorpio is about passions and creativity and the deep meanings of things. And I have said before, you never just do one node. It's always an axis. Where the North Node is, the South Node follows, and vice versa. And so we focus on things that are very material oriented, as opposed to things that are hidden and deep and sensuous and passionate. You may find that you have to do some practical things in order to be able to enjoy the sensuous things that are in Scorpio. You may feel that it's about, getting the creature comforts and the needs met, and then later on the creativity and the passion can flourish. Okay, if you focus solely on the creativity and passion and say the hell with money, right now is going to be a little uncomfortable, okay, the next year and a half. It's got to be more about focusing on achievements and skills and abilities. Taurus rules the second house. So that's all about the skills you have, the value you put on those skills, how you value yourself. Not so much other people's money, other people's value of you, etc. That's all 8th house. 2nd and 8th are opposite. That 8th house energy is Scorpio energy. So it's not so much about that. But you can't do things, the more passionate you are about something, the better at making money at it you will be, because you love it and you're passionate. So it's not like there's no room for passion. You've got to have the balance. You just can't do it solely. If you want to do something solely for passion, then you've got to have something like ready financially, the money in the bank, or that you're set financially and you can do your passion. Maybe your passion is like, you're a visual artist, you're a painter. That would mean, you've got money in the bank and you're fine, and it's all well and good. Maybe now is the time to rely on your savings or something while you do your passion. But the needs have to be met. The basic security needs, we want to focus on those things. And we also want to focus on nature. We also want to focus on like the earth, Mother Earth, and all of that goes with it. Now, the interesting thing is that Venus rules Taurus, and Venus has been retrograde while the North Node entered Taurus. So there it is, ruled by a retrograde Venus, and we'll get all that sorted out on Saturday. But that's where we're going to sort of start to feel maybe a little more Venusian in that respect. Whereas, and Venus, gosh, Taurus loves beautiful things. Taurus loves, cozy new blankets and a warm cup of cocoa, and it has a certain amount of aesthetic, as does Libra, which is also ruled by Venus. And so both of those things, both of those signs have Venusian desires. And Taurus is also like, oh, I like nice things. Well, I got to go out and make the money to get those nice things. So it's more of a material thing than Scorpio. Scorpio is a little more ethereal. It's a water sign, of course. So that's one of the big things that's happened. So there's a lot of shifting and moving. Uranus went direct last week, and that was crazy because I sat down to meditate the day that Uranus went direct, and it was like an hour later or something after the Uranus station direct. And I sat down, I closed my eyes, and I was going to do my meditation, and all of a sudden I hear this pop, and a bottle of kefir that I had made and that was sitting on the counter in the kitchen had exploded and was fizzing all over the wall. So that postponed the meditation by a few minutes while I grabbed it and got it into the sink. Uranus is things that kind of explode or erupt, and that was one of them. Meanwhile, I had read about that underwater volcano that erupted in Tonga, and it sent tsunami waves in that region of the South Pacific, and they felt them here to the point where they had to close the beaches. So, and tsunami is, that's the water, but it's an underwater, it's the earth, under the, there is earth under the, at the sea floor. And so the volcano erupted, and then Uranus went direct at about the same time. And then two of the volcanoes here became active at the same time, just as that Uranus went direct. So there was all this volcano action, which is very Uranian, things erupting and going into the air and shooting ash. And here, that's a common thing, the volcanoes. But two of them at the same time in the same region, not generally happening often. But you'll go to your car and you'll see this film of dust on your windshield and on your car, and that's the volcanic ash. And in your house, you'll like, well, why is my nightstand dusty? And my cleaning lady was just here. Well, it's because the volcano is active, and everything is now covered in like a thin layer of volcanic ash. So that was Uranus here. Uranus going direct. So lots of shifts. The nodes change signs. Venus will change direction. Mercury and Pluto will meet up on Friday the 28th. And that's an intense communication. And maybe a very powerful thought occurs to you, or a very powerful dialogue or conversation will happen in that. And then, when we go into the following week, all sorts of change. Again, we've got a new moon in Aquarius. We've got Mercury going direct on the 3rd. And we're going to talk more about these things next week. But it's been an interesting time when all of this starts to shift and change. It's so much going on. January has been so packed with shifts and movements, just like December was. And so the thing that we want to pay attention to is how our life is flowing in all of this. Are you flowing? Are you stuck? Are you moving forward? And what has surfaced during this Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde? Are you getting, are you getting your needs met? Are you getting the dialogue said? Are words being said that you need to say? Are you getting information that you need? Or do you feel like you're sort of at loose ends with this, and you're not getting, you're not getting your relationship needs settled? Like maybe you need to have a relationship conversation. Maybe you need to have, these are the times when the truth comes out. So sometimes you get information that you weren't expecting, but it's important because it's the truth. It's some sort of truth. And the biggest truth is in our heart, however. You've got to listen to your heart. And I've been hearing this all week about listening to our heart. And, I've been getting messages that I know my own heart very well. And how well do you know your heart? And that's something that we visit when Venus is retrograde. How well do you know your heart? And is your heart open? And are you allowing your heart to be open? And are and what is your heart telling you? And there should be messages from your heart right now, because Venus is retrograde and Mercury is retrograde. And we still have like a good week of Venus. Even though she's at that degree where she's going to turn around, she's slow. When Venus slows down, the messages, the information, the knowledge is much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Much more intense. It's more direct. It's not this, like she's just flying backwards. No, now she's like, it's with great intent. So maybe some of the information that's come forward to you in these last few days and in the next few days will be with great intention. Capricorn wants to manifest, okay? And Capricorn looks at, what's tangible and material. So all this Capricorn energy again, remember, it's about something being very tangible, and that North Node in Taurus, very tangible. And it's very important to pay attention to this intensity and what your intentions are. So it's intensity and intentions and how you are seeing your life right now, and how you're seeing things manifest in your life and what you want to manifest. And as Venus goes direct, and then we have a new moon, and then Mercury goes direct, that's a lot next weekend and into the new week, and that is some really important stuff. That's talking to us about what we do want to manifest and what we do want to come forward as everything starts to shift and clear. It's good when things go direct. We like it when things go direct. It's good to review. It's good to step back. Some people have a hard time with it because they want to move forward and they want their projects to go, and like, I've got to get this off the ground. And it's like, if you start this now, how many times I've had this conversation, especially in the last few weeks, it's not a good time to launch something. It's never a good time when things are retrograde. When there's too much retrograde, it just doesn't go forward, and you keep getting frustrated. And then, I had someone here asking me about like launching something, and I'm like, it's just going to be frustrating for you. And they had some setbacks. They can't launch even if they wanted to. So it's just better to wait. It's really better to wait. If it's a relaunch, like you're relaunching your website, you may need to do that. I always think it's best to wait, but a relaunch of something like a relaunch of a website is probably fine, especially if you're keeping the name the same. If you just like redid it and, because it's a review and all. It's a review of the website and rewriting and all. But it's important to use this time to ponder, to meditate, to really sit back and take in the information you're getting. And I'm sure each and every one of us has gotten a lot of information in these last weeks with Venus retrograde and then the last week with Mercury retrograde. I know I have done a lot of healing work on myself because of information and patterns that I noticed in myself that came up. And it was really important to do that. And I hope that all of you have had time to work on that as well. And that's about it. Another busy, busy week. And it's going to be like this for a while. I'm excited for Venus and Mars to catch up. I'm very curious as to what this is going to bring for each of us, what kind of information I'm going to hear from my clients about this, and how we're all going to go forward with Venus and Mars. So a blessed, beautiful week to you. May you have all your wishes come true, and may you have a lovely, lovely turnaround of Venus and going forward of Venus. May she bring you something special. And thank you all for listening, and much gratitude to everyone. If you need to get in touch with me, you can call me. You get to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com. It's info@thegoldenastrologer.com or deb@debmcbride.com. My Instagram is The Golden Astrologer. My Twitter is @debastrology. And if you are interested in a session with me, you could just go to my website and click book online, and you can set it up there. Thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful week.